They broke into our home. If you break into our home, we're going to discharge you.
And this is...
Yes. Next question.
Okay.
Yes.
But can you prove that they're how do you prove you're not illegal?
Show me your passport. What's your name?
Authoritarian rhetoric, in my opinion, and anybody waving an American flag supporting that does not
No,
support
in
the
fact,
core
it's the
values
opposite.
of our country.
Do you know what it is? It is patriotism to say
Absolutely.
American citizens come before foreign gang members.
It's spitting and
not
chewing out
hard
the
to understand.
He thought he had the winning question, a moral trap to brand Charlie Kirk as authoritarian. But Charlie wasn't playing defense. The fan leaned on emotion, but then Charlie turned it into a reality check on law, on national security, and on the difference between a citizen and an illegal alien. So is this really about fairness, or about protecting America? What you're about to see isn't theory. It's a masterclass in destroying emotional arguments with cold legal facts.
So my question was, do you think that it's okay for a government to send someone to a jail for the rest of their lives without charging or convicting them of a crime?
Well, it depends if they're an American citizen.
So, no, pursuant to the language of the Constitution, it does not depend on if they're an American
Well, so there's
citizen.
3 ways to deport somebody in America. What are those 3 ways?
I know are you talking about under the Alien Enemies Act?
There's Alien Enemies Act, expedited release, or traditional discharging with due process. So which one did Kilmar Abrego Garcia fall under, and why?
Well, I'm just asking, just for the first question, do you think it's okay for a government to send someone for a jail to the rest of their lives?
It depends who the someone is, right? So if the someone is a foreign illegal MS-13 gang member from an occupying force sent by a foreign government, then so be it.
Not true, Charlie.
In fact, actually, let's look at his tattoos. What do his tattoos say? What do you think? Looks like MS-13, doesn't it?
Those
marijuana, smiley face, 1-3.
So those.
Not to mention, actually, I have the documents here because I figured that this was going to come up. In fact, I knew this was going to come up. Yeah. You see how angry the left gets about illegal MS-13 gang members? If only they fought for American citizens that hard. If only they fought for Americans that hard. In fact, I have all the stats here. In 2019, he petitioned to the court that he cannot be sent back to El Salvador because another gang might hurt him.
And was he granted the withholding of removal order?
However, what the court said is that you could be deported at any time for any reason. You could be scooped up without due process. You know the court said this? The only country you're not allowed to be sent back to, ironically, was El Salvador. Now, so hilariously,
and that's what the government did.
1 second. That was under the traditional deportation, not under the AEA, the Alien Enemies Act. Hilariously, if we would have sent him to the Congo or sent him to Gitmo, there's nothing that ever would have been the issue.
But
let's talk about the specifics of Kilmar Abrego Garcia. He's a wife-beating MS-13 member that was documented in multiple instances of wearing MS-13 gang paraphernalia and has MS-13 tattoos, and now is back. Let's just be clear. He's back in the country he was raised in. Is he a U.S. passport holder?
Charlie, this has been litigated by the Maryland District Court, the 4th Circuit, and just real quick, let me finish with this. If you believe him to be an MS-13 member, I agree with all of you guys. If there's someone that's an MS-13 member that's dangerous and violent, get them to a hearing, which is what our Constitution requires, and have the judge decide on it.
But
the judge is who has final say in that. So why are you autocratically...
You got your facts wrong. The judge said he could be deported at any time without any more due process. The only country you can't be sent back to is El Salvador. So I will grant you.
But that's...
Maybe we should not have sent him to that specific country. However, though, that's the country he's from.
But okay, so regardless of, I didn't even bring up the Garcia case initially.
Obviously, you're heavily implying.
I'm talking. There's 300 people in which the data says 75% of them have no U.S. criminal records, and yet they were still.
Oh, they should all go home. If you are an illegal alien in America, you should be sent back to your country of origin.
Right from the start, the tables turned. The fan came in with a vague, emotional question, trying to get a simple yes or no to trap Charlie. But Charlie wasn't playing defense. He pushed back, exposing holes in the argument. The fan demanded fairness, but then Charlie dropped the receipts, deportation laws, court rulings, even gang tattoos. Suddenly, this wasn't a moral plea, it was a reality check. So, who really looked unprepared? The speaker with documents, or the fan stuck on hypotheticals? Trust me, the fireworks had just begun.
With the proper due process that the 14th Amendment requires, right?
It depends.
How is it?
If Alien Enemies Act, expedited, so you got to tell me now, because you came up here with a contention.
Yeah.
What is the expedited removal process? Because the Supreme Court in 2019 ruled on what is called expedited removal. Do you know about this?
The Supreme Court just ruled 9-0.
No, they didn't. They put a stay on the Alien Enemies Act in in June, they will author whether or not it's still constitutional.
Okay.
The Alien Enemies Act has been around since 1798. It was used 3 times prior. However, to the expedited release, the Supreme Court said, you do not need to give due process to an illegal alien that is within 100 miles of the southern border or has been here less than 14 days. The Supreme Court said that. You do not have to give due process.
Okay,
so therefore...
First of all, that wasn't Abrego Garcia, and that wasn't many people.
However, yes, so he fell under the Alien Enemies Act. For the other individuals, they can and will get due process until the court rules differently.
Okay, so then, question on the Alien Removals Act. It's technically supposed to be a wartime act, but the justification is that Tren de Aragua has infiltrated the Venezuelan government to make it...
It's not an accusation. It's by their own admission and by intelligence agencies outside of our own country that have said this.
So 4 days ago, the U.S. intelligence assessment found no coordination between TDA and Venezuelan government. That was drawing from all of our U.S. 18 intelligence agencies. So if that's not true, that TDA is not in coordination with the Venezuelan government...
This case was MS-13. But again, so there's other...
I'm talking about anybody that was deported without a hearing, which is what Supreme Court precedent all the way back to 1903
You're
says
misrepresenting it. Garcia did have years of hearings. The judge scheduled him for deportation.
In which he
the
showed...
judge warned him. He said, at any time, Mr. Garcia, you could be scooped up in the middle of the night. You should read the charging documents from the court. The judge said, at any time, you could be scooped up. And he said, I'm going to stay here anyway. The judge warned him, you are not safe to stay here.
Well, okay, but back to this, back to the 300 people that did not have due process that were deported under the Alien Enemies Act. If it's not true that the TDA is in coordination with the Venezuelan government, then why is that still happening?
Again, I challenge that information
4 days
significantly.
ago, U.S.
Okay, I'll take a look at that, and if so...
The contrast couldn't be sharper. One side leans on emotional appeals and a bumper sticker understanding of the Constitution. The other brings a deep knowledge of actual law and Supreme Court rulings. The fan tried to play the Supreme Court card, but Charlie was already 3 steps ahead. The fan insisted it wasn't Garcia, but then Charlie reminded him of the Alien Enemies Act, on the books since 1798. The fan pulled intelligence reports, but then Charlie flipped it again. This wasn't theory, it was MS-13. So, who looked credible, the guy with decades of precedent, or the fan clinging to shaky claims? Stay tuned, because it gets even messier.
But, and then back to the initial question. So you do think it's okay, in some cases, for the government to send people to a prison, not just deport them back to their country, for the rest of their lives with no due process?
But again, we didn't send them back to a prison. We sent them to El Salvador, and El Salvador put them in a prison.
Which would make us...
We don't control the government El Salvador.
And if they put them in a prison without any process,
decision.
and we sold them to that prison, are we not complicit in that?
Well, hold on. Time out. Let's just make sure we get our morals straight. How did these people end up in our country? They broke into our home. If you break into our home, we're going to discharge you.
And this is
you break into America, don't play the victim if you're sent back to your country of origin.
This is where
you did not come here with permission. You did not come here with warrant. You did not come here with invitation. You came here and broke in. You are a line cutter. Not you, but they are a line cutter. You actually waited nicely in line, of which I wish the illegals would do. And they should not all of a sudden act as if they're a victim. You come into America illegally, you're going to win certain prizes, one of which, if you are part of an enemy gang,
but that
at the time...
That has nothing to do with what I asked you. I'm just saying...
No, it's actually everything to do with the action. I'm saying...
I agree with you that if they're
as
illegal,
a standard
they
rule,
can be subject to deportation proceedings, which in 1903, this is precedent that goes all the way back in the Supreme Court, and they said
not with expedited release or the Alien Enemies Act.
If
that's what was used, though.
Our own intelligence agencies are saying now that TDA has no coordination.
And what was my answer to that? I have not seen that, and I'll look at it. If so, I'll reconsider my position. So we're going to keep on relitigating that. So at the time, that was considered to be like operationally true. And again, I will take a look at that, and if it's true, I'll reconsider my position. Can I say it again?
Yes, but then just going to the most recent 9-0 Supreme Court case, they said that...
It stated, they did not say that. They put a pause on it to reconsider.
I haven't said what I thought they said yet. I'm saying that towards the end, they said that to remove anybody, they have to have an opportunity to be heard and notice of hearing. That's what...
Not for expedited release. Not if you're within 14 days or 100 miles of the southern border.
But there was... are you claiming that everybody that was...
No, I'm not. I'm saying those 300 were under the Alien Enemies Act. So again, we're going to keep on going in circles. At the time, that was before the Supreme Court ruled.
Okay. So just
correct?
To get it clear...
You agree with that?
You believe that the executive branch can put an allegation on somebody and then without proving things to any third party, deport you to a foreign prison for the rest of your life.
If you're an illegal alien, and you are part of.
How would you prove you're
First
not
of
an
all,
illegal alien?
we had this was the most documented deportation effort ever. We know who these people were. We knew their names.
Yeah, because they're all
Many
about
of
to
them
be held
prior
in
had
criminal
court dates.
contempt by the people that uphold
Many
the law
of them
in
were
this
already
country.
many of them were already convicted of crimes, including
75% of them were not convicted of crimes.
Again,
not
but
300.
they already had affiliation. So if you're asking me, do I think it's okay
According to who,
Are you
though?
asking me, is it okay for the U.S. government to scoop up illegal aliens and send them home? Yes. Next question.
Okay.
Yes.
But
The fan thought he had the knockout punch, but Charlie wasn't flinching. The fan cried complicity. But then Charlie flipped it. They broke into America's home. No permission, no invitation, line cutters, not victims. The fan tried Supreme Court precedent, but Charlie pulled out expedited release and the Alien Enemies Act. So who really sounded credible? The guy with documented cases, or the fan spinning hypotheticals? Stick around, because Charlie wasn't done landing blows.
can you prove that they're how do you prove you're not illegal?
Show me your passport. What's your name?
A lot of the people's
you're not in the
Okay,
system.
So
Go home.
people that were detained
You're
in
not in
Chicago,
the system.
people
Go home.
detained in Chicago, U.S. citizens that have been detained because of this.
Were they sent back to El Salvador?
No, but they were held
Okay,
in prison
so-
for 2 days based on immigration grounds,
Okay,
and they're
and
U.S.
that-
citizens.
okay, then
It's because y'all aren't
what's the
respecting
issue?
due process.
No,
All I'm
again,
saying
we're
is,
continually going in circles
Okay.
on this, but I will say for
Okay.
the 14th time, if you are an illegal alien in America, don't be shocked if you get swept up and deported back to your country of
Okay,
origin.
yeah.
Biden's presidency is over. A new presidency is here.
well, I'll just say that's authoritarian rhetoric, in my opinion, and anybody waving an American flag supporting that does not
No,
support
in
the
fact,
core
it's the
values of our
opposite.
country.
Do you know what it is? It is patriotism to say
Absolutely.
American citizens come before foreign gang members.
It's spitting and
Not
chewing
hard
out the
to
Constitution,
understand.
and that's why every single court in this land, the Supreme Court, the Fourth Circuit Court of Appeals, the Maryland Court, Judge Boasberg, is holding the government that you support
Not-
in contempt for violating
Well,
the
they actually have
Constitution.
not held them in contempt.
They're starting to start
Well,
those
they
proceedings,
haven't. So
Charlie.
you have
That's a
to be-
technicality.
They have not held them in contempt.
They're starting those processes.
But disagreement between the branches is nothing new. It is normal.
It's violation
Well,
of
hold
the
on.
Supreme Court
So,
orders.
Joe Biden violated the Supreme Court.
Cool. I'm
no,
not
hold
talking
on. No. When it came to the student loan cancellation thing, should he have done that? No. And they're not actually ignoring the Supreme Court. They're not. There's a hold on the Alien Enemies Act. We will see what the Supreme Court decides this summer. Again, it is one of 3 legal ways to remove people from the United States of America, as per our courts have decided.
This debate wasn't an exchange, it was an exposure. The fan tried to twist it as authoritarian, but Charlie didn't blink. He fired back. Protecting citizens isn't tyranny, it's patriotism. The fan waved courts and contempt orders, but then Charlie hit him with the truth. No contempt, just normal disagreements between branches. The fan wanted to frame it as chaos, but Charlie reframed it as law and order. The simple, common-sense idea that American citizens should come before foreign gang members who broke our laws to be here. When the dust settled, it was clear. You don't win a debate with emotional appeals. You win it with facts, principles, and an unwavering commitment to your country. Don't forget to leave your thoughts in the comments. Have a great day, and see you in the next one.